Welcome back to another edition of the Unreasonable Odds podcast. Steve Buchanan, Julian, Edlow, fresh off our trip out to Weehawken, New Jersey for the Sports Betting National Championship. Julian was there for the long haul. Julian was there for like 10 days. It might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but I'm sure it felt like 10 days. 4, okay. A lot of flight delays was had by all. It was we don't live too far from New Jersey, but it took a long time to get to New Jersey. Just like when all of us were in Philly, it took a long time to get home from Philly, even though we're very close. But we powered through, we got through it, and now we're on to week 10 of the NFL. And we're going to talk about it here on the podcast. But first, we're going to wrap up what was another amazing week for the sportsbook. And we don't like those weeks. We're tired of those weeks. 2 weeks in a row now. The sportsbook cleaned up on some very public favorites. And that makes us angry. We don't want to come on the show with that type of news, but I unfortunately have to give that news that it happened. The Buffalo Bills, how many teasers, how many parlays, how many lives did they ruin last week with the Jaguars doing the upset of, honestly, maybe the century. Maybe the upset of the century.
Biggest NFL upset in a while.
Long time. Bad. Really bad. And I'm just going to say it too. This is the second week in a row, Julian, that the Bills have looked very beatable against very poor teams. I mean, they barely squeaked by the Dolphins 2 weeks ago when they were double-digit favorites. I mean,
it's misleading. They didn't look great. They wound up covering the double-digit number, but they didn't look great.
And then they lose to the Jaguars.
Mm-hmm.
And now this week, they are double-digit favorites once again, going up against the Jets. -13 on the DraftKings Sportsbook. We'll get into that a little bit more.
All right. So yeah, we'll get to that later. We can even get to cash it and trash it a little bit later, which I don't think either of us, thankfully, are trashing any Bills tickets. However, there were no upsets of more than a touchdown in the spreads of more than a touchdown. No dog of more than a touchdown had won this NFL season. Now we get back-to-back weeks of Jets over Bengals and Jags over Bills. But really quick, just to touch on the event, obviously we covered most of the Sports Betting National Championship, which was great. Did a lot of work with our friends at VSiN, got to even meet some of our co-workers face-to-face that we had never physically met outside of Zoom calls. DraftKings did a good job. A lot of open bar, a lot of open buffet. Those are all good things that we like. But the winner of the event got to $169,000 in his bankroll to win his $1 million. And how he did it was a rather impressive parlay.
Yeah.
Gutting out some massive underdogs. Jaguars plus 14.5 parlay leg. Coward. Should have taken him outright. Under 49 in that game. 6-9 final. And then Denver Broncos plus 6.5 first half. They went up 30-0 in that game. Talk about taking some uncomfortable legs and literally you want to talk about, you generally have to sweat to win $1 million. There was no point in time where any of that was in question. And you take down, $1.17 million or so in that. So congrats to the winner who definitely benefited from some of those dogs that the sportsbook was otherwise benefiting from.
I was thinking about that too. Do you think he correlated that if the Jags are going to cover that this was going to be a low scoring game? Like, I feel like that might have been some correlation there.
Yeah. Generally when you take, 2 touchdowns, you're leaning under.
Yeah.
I would say.
So, a really gross looking parlay before the 1 o'clock lock. But he was sitting mighty fine after that. And like you said, no sweat on that. That's hard to catch up to on a thing like that. But, and it just goes back to some of the strategy. Taking some of those long shots. You even mentioned it too. Taking some of these, weird parlays, if you want to say, you know what I mean? To try to get up the leaderboard. Because if you hit that like he did, it was game over. That was it. That's really all it was. And now anybody else after that was going to have to do something drastic to catch up.
There were a couple of opportunities for bettors to catch up. A user had Spencer Dinwiddie gone over 16.5 points, would have gotten to 180,000. He would have won. He was actually at the event. So I watched some of that Wizards Bucks game with him, but Dinwiddie had 3 points going into the fourth quarter. It was kind of a little bit of a letdown. But the real one was, and this better looking back, it's easy to say in hindsight, but should have split up into maybe a couple of different parlays. Used his bankroll on one big parlay that came down to Chris Duarte, the Pacers rookie, to record a block at plus 450. Had that happened, he would have gotten $450,000 in his bankroll and won by nearly $300K.
Wow.
And netted almost $1.5 million from the event. Chris Duarte had one career block in 10 games entering the game. Didn't have a block in that game. But that would have been a massive win. And looking back at the number needed to win, 170 wins, you don't need to get to 450. Maybe you make 2 or 3 parlays with different props in there, and one of the others would have hit. But that was an interesting strategy and an interesting sweat.
Let's get to cash it or trash it. And just real quick too, I cannot stress enough that I would recommend trying to get to some of these events that DraftKings holds. Yeah. They do it, better than anyone. And I'm not even just biased by saying that. Like, you and I even were talking off air that like we were generally really impressed with how the sports betting national championship shook out. Just the whole venue, the whole setup, everything that they offered is really impressive too. And I would say that with or without DraftKings affiliation. So I truly believe that as well. Let's get the cash it or trash it. I think we're both going to have one on each side for this one here. I'll start with the cash it. The teaser that, you were kind of giving me crap about. I just was so down on the 49ers, had the Cardinals at +8, teased them up to +8 with the Ravens, just getting them to win. So we cashed that one there. Ravens continue to look good. Cardinals just absolutely dominated, even with Colt McCoy, even without DeAndre Hopkins. Like I said, I just have nothing good to say about this 49ers team. I continue to be down on them, even without Kyler Murray. +8 was just was more than enough as they won that game outright.
Yeah, I like my Sunday, everybody was generally getting mopped on Sunday, and I somehow was like skating through this, untouched the whole way. Cashed Patriots -3, that no sweat. Very much sweated out a late play on Packers +7 that got there. And then, I had the Ravens as one of my teaser legs, sweated out, got there. Some of it was with Miami. So I cashed some on Miami, which I think was a huge overreaction, that line going down to 4. I was in at the bad value. I bet it early in the week, but it didn't matter. So I was cashing everything in the afternoon. However, all of this hinged on the Rams. A Baltimore LA teaser, Baltimore Miami LA teaser. Just needed the Rams to win that one, and not even close. Stafford gave the game away. So we'll go from cash to trash. I cashed a lot in the afternoon window, and then the Rams just kind of trashed a big chunk of that.
Not only that, but I think it's fair to say that aside from the Ravens, the Rams were probably the most popular teaser leg, getting them down to -1 against the Titans, who, were able to beat the Houston Texans 2 weeks ago. But the Texans made some noise against that team in the fourth quarter. They put up 22 points against that team in the fourth quarter. So, you felt like this was going to be a team that was going to be able to cover, and just gave it away. Like you said, just absolutely gave it away. And it was probably, personally, aside from the Bengals, that was probably the most frustrating loss I've had this season, because I think this was going to be a Rams team that, with no Derrick Henry, was just going to roll easily. So for me, I think that might have been the most frustrating loss that I've endured so far this season.
Yeah, the Rams got me pretty good. All right. How did we even intro this podcast? I don't even remember.
I said hello, and then I introduced ourselves.
All right. Well, we're calling Unreasonable Odds. You can find us on Twitter at Unreasonable Odd. Hopefully, those of you that entered the free bet competition last weekend, $10, $50 free bets, are happy. Those are things we should mention off the top. Show us your winners. We had some big winners last week, or 2 weeks ago, when we gave out free bets. We would love to see those on Twitter. And before we look at the Week 10 board, I will say, as we record this on Tuesday, November 9th, college basketball tips off tonight. which if you know me, you know I love college basketball. So because we're a little off schedule, we're not recording Monday. We were traveling home from the event. We're doing a quick Tuesday episode for you. We had Johnny in person slamming down wads of cash on the desk in New Jersey. We don't have him this week. We'll be back to Johnny for odds are next week. So after Steve and I do week 10, Steve's going to take off and do more important things. And I'm going to talk college basketball with Nick Greely from Spread Investor. You can find him on Twitter at Turnstone Capper. Go over some Tuesday night stuff, the big Champions Classic at MSG. Got Kansas and Michigan State and Kentucky and Duke. Some good ones to start. Look at some college basketball futures, things of that nature. So we will be more than a football podcast today, an NFL podcast today. We will be getting into a little bit of college basketball after me and Steve go over this week 10 board.
Let's take a look at that week 10 board too, as well. Starting off with, by the way, very good teaser week this week. Finally, we're back.
Is it?
Yeah.
Where?
Really? You don't think so? Oh, the first leg starts right on Thursday night with the Ravens against the Dolphins.
Sure.
The Ravens down 1.5 against the Dolphins. Come on.
Okay, great. You need 2 legs.
Yeah, I know. Now, there's a couple numbers that it would be great if they got down 0.5 point, but Buccaneers at -9 is 1.
Is that 9 now?
It's jumping back and forth between 9 and 9.5.
Yeah,
so,
I see 9.5. I need that to 8.5, but yeah.
So there's that one. And then Cowboys against the Falcons. That they're not gonna repeat that performance from last week against the Falcons. Not a chance.
Probably not.
And then there's another one too. I don't mind taking Cardinals at 9.5, bringing it down to 3.5 against the Panthers with Kyler Murray back. There's some good legs there this week. I don't think you're just paying. I think you're still half asleep. I don't think you're paying attention to the board.
The numbers are too big. The favorites are too big. Baltimore's in there, but 9.5 Tampa.
The beauty of it is you don't have to do it today.
13 Buffalo. I guess I can't count 8.5 there. 10 on the Colts. 9 on the Steelers. 9.5 on the Cardinals. Massive favorites again. Like, I'll say this: the thing that most intrigues me, and the way things are going in the NFL, like, if you want to fall into something of some of these teasers and these big point spreads, like, I think we're at the stage of the season where we need to focus on betting good teams against bad teams.
Yeah.
If you want to say something that fell apart the last couple of weeks is now we're looking at the Bengals like maybe they aren't that good. So maybe we didn't bet that good of a team against the Jets.
Can I just stop you for 1 second?
Huh?
Let me stop you for 1 second.
Go ahead.
Who right now is good?
Nobody.
Right.
Nobody. Everybody sucks.
Exactly. But so I'm just going matchup based.
Oh, well, I was thinking more AFC, but I don't. Okay. So I was thinking more AFC, like nobody's good. Is Tennessee now the best team in the AFC? Like maybe. So we bet a bad team to beat a bad team, and it didn't happen for Cincinnati, the Jets. We were so confident in the Rams, but we were betting a good team to beat a good team. And Tennessee was better that night. So I want to focus on good teams beating bad teams. So what that does for me is, and maybe I'll eliminate the points because there's so much favorite. I might do a 3-leg, like rather than a teaser on favorites, I would do a 3-leg money line parlay this week. I haven't bet it. I'm not telling you to bet it. This is just my early lean. So like
I'm putting it on my screen right now. I want to see if I'm right.
Okay. So it's Baltimore on Thursday night.
Yep.
You got to get one in there for that juice. That's a good team beating a bad team.
Yep.
Tampa off a loss off a bye to beat Washington. That's a good team to beat a bad team.
I got 2.
Arizona to beat Carolina.
Got it.
A good team to beat a bad team. But you can see that now. Like, I don't think the Lions are going to beat the Steelers, but the Steelers are a fake 5-3 or 6-3 or whatever they are.
Totally.
I mean, Indy's not a good team. I don't not good enough, so I can't bet them against Jacksonville. Atlanta's 4-4 and in the playoff picture, so like who knows? Bills, Jets you can throw in there, but I don't want any part of like -720 13-point favorites. The Bills should bounce back by steamrolling the Jets. One would think that's how this is supposed to work. But if you And again, I'm not betting it, but like rather than a teaser this week, if I get into kind of a favorites best bet rather than teasing 2 7-pointers down to win, Baltimore, Tampa, Arizona is probably the 3 legs that I'm looking at there. And you get a decent little sweat out of it by getting Thursday night and then Sunday early window, Sunday late window.
Yep. Nailed that parlay. I'm proud of myself. -102.
Good job. I mean, yeah, I that's a good exercise, but yes, the way that I phrased it, find the good teams against the bad teams rather than betting bad against bad, good against good.
So real quick, this is why I like the Cowboys. This is one that jumped out at me immediately.
Mm-hmm.
The Falcons continue to beat sub 500 teams. That's all they've been facing lately. Washington.
Except, I mean, the Saints is a real win.
Is it with Trevor Siemian?
No. Yes. Maybe.
No, it's not. But so my point was going to be, they have beaten now, or excuse me, they have faced as of late Washington, which was a loss, and then Jets, Dolphins. They closely lost to the Panthers. They beat the Saints. Like, they're playing bad teams. Okay. Now it's Cowboys, and then look ahead, Patriots, Jaguars, whatever, Buccaneers, like there it goes. So the playoff picture, being in the playoff picture is happening, but is going to end quickly over the next month or so. Because they have a really tough schedule the next month or so. So I will happily take the Cowboys, who are a much better team. And there's nobody that can discredit that against going up against the Falcons without Calvin Ridley. Now, I will take the Cowboys. That is going to be my second leg on that one. I have no problem doing that.
3 other spots. And again, no plays here. Four other really like shorter point spreads that I'm looking at. It looks like we're now getting Russell Wilson again. Then this isn't one of them. Looks like we're getting Russell Wilson against Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau. So that went from 5.5 to 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
No real take there, but some spots that I am eyeballing. Well, the Patriots were at a pick 'em earlier on Tuesday morning, -110 each way. Patriots Browns is an interesting one.
No Nick Chubb now.
No
Nick Chubb because of COVID.
I've been traveling. I didn't even know that. Nick Chubb's out?
Yeah, it just happened maybe 10 minutes ago, 10 minutes before we started talking. Nick Chubb and other players are tested positive, but Chubb's the biggest one. So now they don't have Kareem Hunt and they don't have Chubb. So now it's just down to Dearness Johnson again.
Oh, all right. So that's why this moved from a pick. All right. I'm probably going to bet the Patriots now-ish. So, all right, I'm glad I brought that game up. I like the Patriots a lot more now. But some spots I have my eyes on. Like, I get that the Saints are off a bad loss and they have a good defense, but Tennessee might just be that good. Like they've won 4 games in a row as underdogs.
Yep.
Now they're a 3-point favorite. But again, like you said, against Trevor Siemian, the Saints defense can be good, but how much are they going to do with Trevor Siemian?
Right. Or it may be Taysom Hill. That's the other thing.
Fine, then I like him even more. So Tennessee, I like at home. New England, I like at home. Denver's a 3-point home favorite. Sharp money hits the Eagles every week, and the Eagles aren't good. Now, the reason I might stay away from this one is I don't want to overreact. There's probably bad value on Denver after getting a massive upset over the Cowboys.
100%. I have zero interest in going for the Broncos this week. Zero.
But the Eagles,
I'll chalk that up to a bad week for Dallas.
The Eagles are not good.
I know that.
And then the primetime games. The primetime games, I will say, like after Monday night, like that ref show that we saw, I'm less and less interested in primetime games.
Yep.
But the Chiefs aren't good, and the Raiders just won't go away no matter how many bad things happen to them.
Amazing.
So Vegas as a home dog, and they also always seem to play well in the Sunday night game against the Chiefs. It happens every year. Little interest there. And then the Niners just might be bad, and the Rams are going to be out for blood on Monday night. 3.5 on the road with the Rams. Don't hate it.
-190 on the money line is a joke, in my opinion.
Well, I don't know if I can go money line there, but
as part of a parlay, maybe. Minus 190 against the 49ers. Why? Why? That is an overreaction of last week if I've ever seen one.
Okay.
The Rams are not that close to the 49ers. Like, give me a break. Really? No.
I would tend to agree with you. All right. Well, so those are some early leans. Like, we're gonna have something. I'll give the Patriots money line out as a bet right now in like the 120 range.
Yep.
I think the Patriots are rolling. Cleveland's having some issues. Don't be surprised if OBJ is playing against his old team in this game.
Oh man, I hope so.
Potentially giving out some info, and if he does, maybe an anytime touchdown scorer there, because it would just be the perfect spot.
The only thing that I worry about is how up to speed he will be. Because if he realistically gets signed today, as we record Tuesday, I guess then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that's one of those things where he'll be on the field, but it'll be very limited.
Right. All right. Well, there's some NFL leans. There's some recaps for you. We will be back on Thursday, Steve and I together with Mitch Moss from VSiN. Great guest of Follow the Money out there in Vegas. He joined us over the summer. We had a great pod with him. So we'll be checking in with Mitch mid NFL season here on the Thursday episode of Unreasonable Odds. But right now, it is a beautiful time of the year because college basketball is here. So let's talk to Nick Greely from Spread Investor, get some college hoops. Alrighty, guys, welcome back into the Unreasonable Odds podcast. I'm Julian Edlow. You can find me on Twitter at Julian Edlow. You can find us on Twitter at Unreasonable Odd. College basketball season is upon us. It snuck up on me a little bit, honestly. A lot going on, a lot of football, sports betting national championship. But we are here, and Tuesday, along with about 100 and something games in college basketball, brings us one of my favorite events of the year. The Champions Classic, which is always some combination of those four big time teams. This year we get Kansas and Michigan State, and Kentucky and Duke going head to head at MSG with fans. So it'll be really fun. For the occasion, we bring on a guest that if you guys follow college basketball, if you guys follow this podcast, that you probably know. You get Oral Roberts over Ohio State correct, and you get an invitation back to the Unreasonable Odds podcast. Nick Greely from Spread Investor. You can find him on Twitter at Turnstone Capper is here. Nick, how we doing, man?
Doing great, man. Just anxious and excited to get the season underway tonight.
Yeah, so let's start with Tuesday night. And before we get to the full board a little bit, let's obviously go to the two heavy hitter highlight games that we get here at MSG. The first game, Kansas, as we record on Tuesday afternoon, now down to -4, number 3 overall ranking against unranked Michigan State. No Jalen Wilson, withdrew from the NBA draft, came back to Kansas. No Jalen Wilson for some off the court issues. He's dealing with a suspension. Maybe some of the reason for the number coming down here on Kansas. I believe this opened 5.5 on DraftKings Sportsbook. So you've got this Kansas team, though, they bring back a couple of their good wings. They bring back McCormick in the middle, a little bit of depth there. They add in transfers, Remy Martin, a 4-year Arizona State point guard, 3-year starter, averaged like 19, 4, and 3 for 2 consecutive years out in the Pac-12. And then, a nice little decent transfer from Drake, their bench piece, their 6th man, coming onto this Kansas team. I know laying 4 against the Michigan State team is not ideal, but it's no longer laying 5.5 at the same time. This is a play on Kansas for me. I mean, Michigan State brings in, they needed to replace something on front that Cassius Winston kind of brought them, and they feel like they did some of that and adding that point guard from Northeastern. But this is a pretty big step up for him in a first game. And, you got like a Joey Hauser, who's a piece I like for Michigan State a lot, a big that can spread the floor and knock down some threes. Michigan State has the better recruiting class, but these are kids playing in their first game on a very big stage. So I'm going to take the experience, a team that I think even without Wilson has more talent right now in Kansas, and lay the 4. Nick, let me hear your breakdown on this game.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. Kansas is going to be really good this year. I think a interesting dynamic, like you said, is they do bring in Remy Martin, who averaged 20 points per game from Arizona State, giving them a real threat on offense, even without Jalen Wilson out tonight. They bring back Agbaji, McCormick, Brown. They get transferred from Yesufu, from Drake, Coleman Lance from Iowa State. I mean, they really reloaded and they're gonna be really good this year. One thing I did hear from Bill Self was that he was talking about starting DeQuan Harris, averaged 2 points a game last year off the bench. He said that's their starting point guard to start the year. So it's going to be interesting to see if they start Remy at the 2 guard tonight or they bring him off the bench, and how they utilize him tonight. But yeah, like you said, I'm definitely looking the bet Kansas tonight -4 against Michigan State. Michigan State, good team. I like Tyson Walker from Northeastern. Giants step up. Like you said, a good freshman and Christie, he should be really good this year. But big stage like this, MSG, I think the lights are going to be a little bit too bright. Give me the experience of Kansas, and -4.
This is generally one of those events where I look to kind of fade the freshmen if they're playing a experienced, talented team. And in general, I've done pretty well with it. You will remember the one year it did not go well. That would be taking, I believe it was Kansas against Duke with the Zion Barrett class, and they came out and stomped them out. But I just ate the L right there. But that's a different class. I don't think there's any kids like Barrett and Zion coming in quite this year, which brings us to the nightcap. And this one, as good as Kentucky and Michigan State is going to be, and Kansas and Michigan State is going to be, and I'm really excited to see what Kansas is because they're a national title threat. This Kentucky Duke matchup intrigues me the most. The worlds have almost completely flipped. We're now talking about this young Duke team who's favored now by 3. This one blew up to 3 on DraftKings Sportsbook. Young Duke team, talented bigs, not as much of a backcourt against a Kentucky team that is more like a Memphis John Calipari team than a Kentucky John Calipari team. And what I mean by that is we're always watching this event to see, all right, what new 4 or 5 freshmen on Kentucky are going to be NBA draft prospects this year. And that's not the case. They have Washington, who's one of 3 really good guards that they have, who is going to be firmly in the mix for Kentucky. And I'm excited to see what he looks like. But this Kentucky team is the more experienced team, the team that has bodies that we're just not accustomed to seeing. We've got, I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. I just wrote an article on him, the Georgia point guard.
Severe Wheeler,
who, I think he led the SEC in assists last year, 14 points, 7.5 or so assists per game. Smaller point guard, but decent rebounder. And then, Kellen Grady, I'm a Rhode Island Ram, so I follow the A10 pretty closely, and we will touch on a future I have in the A10 a little bit later. But Kellen Grady, 4-year starter at Davidson, he had like the same stats every year. He's timeless and comes in to make this 3-headed monster in the backcourt with a lot of experience and sharp shooting for Kentucky. In the front court, they get the West Virginia transfer who rebounds the ball really well. If there's anything Duke has in this game, it's size, because they bring in one of the top freshmen in the nation, Paolo Banchero. They have Mark Williams, a guy I know you're very high on, who's one of the best shot blockers in the nation. And, Duke can win the paint. I'm going to go with the experienced guards in this game. I'm on Kentucky, some money line, some +3. You got the Coach K narrative, which I hope, doesn't play too much of a narrative in giving Duke more in this game. But I'm not that high on Duke in the early going, and I think this Kentucky team is going to be pretty good.
Yeah, I agree with a lot that you said there. It's a really interesting dynamic for Kentucky this year. It's not all freshmen like they normally are, and they're deep. Like, their depth is unreal. And their main issue last year was shooting, and they added a shooter in Kellen Grady, like you hit on, a very solid player from the A10, and could likely be the newcomer in the SEC this year. The one worry I do have is CJ Frederick is out. shot right around 50% from three last year. He won't be giving it a go tonight. I listened to a podcast with Calipari. He won't be in tonight. My one worry is size, like you had mentioned. Mark Williams down low, and then Theo John, a senior off the bench, transfer from Marquette. Those two guys are going to give Kentucky real threats in the paint. So, if Kentucky is hitting a three tonight, I definitely lean Kentucky. But if they're looking to drive to the hoop a lot, they're gonna struggle a lot scoring over guys like Mark Williams, Theo John, and then just be on the lookout for Boncher. He's a freshman, but he's an elite freshman, likely freshman of the year in my opinion. Maybe over a few other guys, but he's going to be really solid. It should be a great game tonight. I'm with you on it. I lean Kentucky. Just think they have the more veteran guys, maybe a little bit more continuity than Duke does. I'm not really throwing in the Coach K narrative too much this year. It's going to get pounded into the ground by the press, I'd have to imagine. But, yeah, I'd lean Kentucky in this one tonight as well.
The way Duke gets, I know how I lose this bet if I lose it. It's Duke cleans up the glass, blocks some shots, and Kentucky, who can shoot, doesn't knock down their shots tonight. I
think the script of this one's pretty easy, just like you said.
That's I know the script of how I lose my bet.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna bet that Kentucky can do well enough to battle in the paint. They're gonna lose the paint battle, but keep it close enough. And the guard, I'm just expecting the guard play to be so much better on the Kentucky on the Kentucky side of things. And having like Mintz is now he was playing out of position point guard and a huge role for them last year. He's now their fourth guard,
right? And
experience, that's a luxury. And like you said, Frederick not playing in this one. I wish he was, but in terms of capping for the future, he's a guy that's going to come in and bang threes. So
yeah, that's the main difference in this one. Older, deep. I mean, they can go 1 through 10, and all their guys can bring energy. I mean, Jacob Toppin can come in, bring energy, and be a really good player for them. Duke,
Toppin, yeah, ditched
1 through 6, and 3 of the 6 are freshmen. So, yeah,
right. So again, this is my always my formula in this event, going against the youth. And yes, I don't know how I forgot about Toppin. Toppin can come in there and play. A former Rhode Island Ram, and then his brother went big time and he ditched the A10 to go to the SEC. Don't like him for that. But let me put it to you this way. This isn't even a gambling question. This is a college basketball fan question. There's these two games, and then you scroll through the board, and everything else seems like a big-time team getting their warm-up game, getting their layup as a heavy favorite. What's the best game that's not in the Champions Classic, in your opinion, just on this whole slate?
I'll be honest with you, there's 2 mid-major games, I think, for any college basketball junkie you really got to be looking at tonight watching. That's Belmont at Ohio, and then UC Irvine at New Mexico State. Both really intriguing games, really good teams that are 1 or 2 in their conference, respectively, each. They're going to be 2 really exciting games. For any college basketball junkie, you want to watch some other action, definitely check out those 2 games.
All right, there you go. If I go away, if I get outside of the Champions Classic, one thing, a late night play that I'm looking at, haven't played it yet, I'll put it on Twitter if I do, would be Zags and Dixie State over 166. I know it's a different Gonzaga team, and I'm not convinced it's a better Gonzaga team, that they should be as heavy of favorites as they are this year because of last year. I think they lost a lot in the backcourt, and we'll see what they are with. Obviously they have a really intriguing combo of bigs, but this game went well over with Dixie State last year. Dixie State's a team that likes to push the pace. We know how Gonzaga plays. And this isn't a game, the spread in this game is 40. So this isn't a game that Dixie State's going to pull who is it that Gonzaga always plays? The Dons, San Francisco. They try and take the air out of the ball and beat the Zags in a rock fight. Dixie State's is going to go out here and run, and whether they lose by 35 and cover or 45 and don't cover, they're going to play their game, I feel like. So I'm leaning over in Zags at 166 if I play anything outside of the Champions Classic. What else are you looking at on this Tuesday board?
Right. So I had 2 games I really like circled outside of the games we've already all hit on. One is South Dakota State at home. I believe they're laying 9.5, 10 right now against Bradley. You look at Bradley's roster, they lost 3 out of their 4 top leading scorers. They actually met last year early on in the regular season in an 88-84 game at Bradley. South Dakota State won. Those three players combined for 50 points out of the team's 84. So, I mean,
Wow.
there's really a story in the narrative. They're losing a lot of production. Brand new point guard at home. And South Dakota State is one of the best mid-majors, in my opinion, this year. They should win the Summit. They should go dancing this year. I think they would have last year if it wasn't for Oral Roberts. They returned 99.3% of their minutes back from last year.
Is it South Dakota State that does?
Yes, South Dakota State does.
They have literally every rotation piece.
Everybody rotation is back. 5 starters all average double digits. They're at home tonight. I think they get off on the right foot tonight. I think they cover first half -6, full game -11. I think this game's closer to like 15, 20-point game for them. Also, another thing to look at when betting bigger spreads like this is pace, like you had mentioned with Gonzaga and Dixie State. South Dakota State ranked second last year in 3-point field goal percentage at 40.9%, I believe that number was. And they get up and down. They score right around 80 points per game. So this one has blowout potential written all over it.
All right, there you go. There's one of them. Where else we looking?
The other game's an ugly game, and it is really ugly.
I mean, you look at the numbers on the board. Everything's going to be relatively ugly.
Yeah, it's tonight's a lot of 20+ point spreads. This one's just ugly from the sense of these teams suck, but who sucks less and who can win? So it's interesting. But Tennessee State goes on the road at Alabama A&M. How bad are these teams? A&M lost like their last 7 games in a row in the year last year. Tennessee State was 4-19. However, though, Tennessee State, they brought in a lot of guys. They brought in Brown from Georgia, a top 100 recruit in high school that's from Purdue. They brought in Hersey Miller, a freshman that played AAU with Shed Holmgren. He's a very electric player. And then they bring in 2 guys off the bench from Illinois State and Stanford who both average 8 a game, who are going to be key role players off the bench in this game. They came out +1. I think the line now is like -2. I think it moves some. But I think they win this game by 5 to 10. If they can shoot tonight and they're like around 40% from 3, they might win this game closer to double digits. I think this line's off early, and you'll see markets are off early. I think this is one game where the market is off on.
All right. So do you see where this one's at now?
I think it's flown around maybe -2 now.
All right. There we go. All right. So there's a side in a little bit of an ugly one. I don't even give out the matchup again. Sorry. I'm listening, but
it's not ugly. They're both like bottom 50 teams in the nation. But
Alabama State, right?
No, it's Tennessee State on the road at Alabama A&M.
Tennessee State on the road at Alabama A&M.
You're going to have to dig deep for this game under the extra board because that's where it's at.
Yeah. All right. Shows how well I was listening. I got the states right. I just a little bit jumbled up there. All right. A couple more things we want to touch on before we get out of here. We'll talk future board really quick, but there is obviously the Friday night game. Tips off at 11:30 p.m. East Coast time, making me stay up late. My kid's going to be jumping on my head at 6:30 in the morning. I'm still going to stay up for the game. Villanova goes out to UCLA for the game of the week. I mean, we got the Champions Classic, but this is the game of the week, 4-2. UCLA brings all its starters back from the Final Four team. That was not a fluke run. I think that's just kind of who that team became later in the season, and that's some of the momentum they'll bring into this season. And then you've got Villanova, who maybe was set up to dip a little bit this year, but now Gillespie, Samuels, like they've got their guys back. Opening line or looking at DK Sportsbook, it spreads 3. Villanova's a 3-point road dog here. Don't need to play or anything. I haven't played anything, but just let me into your mind on this, how you think this matchup plays out.
I'll tell you what, I actually love this play. And as soon as the line came out yesterday, I was like, wow, this is a really good line. I like UCLA -2.5. Okay. Like you said, that was not a fluke run in the year last year. Johnny Juzang is one of the best players in the nation, a guy who should average 20+ a game. Plus, you talk about, Villanova does bring back Gillespie and a few other key pieces, and they'll be really good. But Gillespie is coming off surgery, off a season-ending injury. How good will he be right away? That's my main concern with him, because they need him to go. Versus you look at UCLA, I mean, they're stacked. They bring back everyone, add a good freshman in Peyton Watson, and they bring in a transfer from Rutgers, Miles Johnson, who averaged 9 a game last year. At home in UCLA, it's going to be packed, 11:30. Like you said, it's a late game on the East Coast, so we'll be up. But I love this play. UCLA -2.5, -3. I think this line should really be closer to like 4, 4.5. So I think it's a great line. I think the earlier you lock it in, the better.
That was my initial lean as well. So, by the time Friday night rolls around, I'm staying up for it. I'm going to be betting it. 100%. So I'll probably be on that UCLA side with you. All right. So transitioning from, that Villanova UCLA game, I think UCLA is going to win that game against Villanova, but that's not a conference game in the Big East. And Gillespie, like you said, give him some time to get healthy for Big East play, probably looking a little bit better. Villanova to win the Big East Conference, and this is no longer DraftKings Sportsbook used to offer to win the Big East Conference tournaments. This is now a regular season win, which I love because it gives you the, more time to be right on your handicap, to win conference games, not get knocked off in one conference tournament game. Villanova, you're laying juice. It's essentially a pick 'em versus the field, -105. I like them to win the Big East because they bring back Gillespie. They bring back Samuels. They bring back, a good piece of this core. And I think the competition just falls off. You've got UConn as the next favorite at +380. They lose Book Knight. They have a well-rounded roster, but they need to find their top end scoring. You've got Xavier, who, has their top end scoring, and a guy like Scruggs, but doesn't have all that much else. They're +650. And then you're all the way down to St. John's, long shots, +1,500, Butler +1,800. Not real competition. So Villanova won the regular season title last year, got bounced in the conference tournament. I think bringing their studs back, they're going to win this conference again and have the 1 seed in the Big East.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Villanova and then a large gap to who's second or third. I think who's going to end 2 through 4 is like a real toss-up in this conference. But yeah, Villanova, Jay Wright, they win. Like you said, it's not like the conference tournament where it just takes one little Cinderella run. You're getting much more games, much more of a bulk. The better team always prevails in that situation. And that should be Villanova this year. The only long shot I have in the Big East, they likely don't win it, but it's an interesting team, St. John's. I like what they have, but like you said, the gap from 1 to 2 in the Big East is pretty severe, and I'm right there with you. A -105, that's a great price on Villanova.
Good price on DK Sportsbook. I'll give you another one that's essentially a pick 'em against their field in the conference, and then we can go to a couple of your future leans or teams you like early. We're going to the A10, and we're going to St. Bonaventure, -115 to win the A10 regular season. This team won the A10 regular season last year. It won the A10 conference tournament last year. All 5 of its starters averaged in double figures. It's returning all 5 of those starters. 3 of them have started for the Bonnies for 4 years. They have everything. Lofton at point guard. They got the big man averaging a double-double, blocking 3 or 4 shots a game. They have 3 wings to play around them. They have one of the best shooters in the conference. And then they added transfers. They added a starter from Pitt to come off their bench. They added a guard from Wake Forest. They added 2 JUCO players that can both play. One of them, arguably one of the best shooters in the nation. Richmond's a pretty good team that is bringing some experience back. VCU's always decent, although they lost Boehm Island to the NBA. I just don't see where the other team in the A10 is. They could lose in the conference tournament again, but regular season, getting that bulk, like you said, I like that word, bulk. They're going to get knocked off a couple times, but they're not going to get knocked off much. The Bonnies to win the A10 is my favorite future in college basketball. It's going to take like multiple significant injuries or multiple COVID outbreaks within the team to keep them from winning this conference, in my opinion. I know the Bonnies were a team that you liked a lot last year, and now they have everything back plus more.
Yeah, we talked about the gap in the Big East from Nova to the second seed. That gap's even larger in the A10. Like you said, Richmond, good team, bring back a lot of the guys. But Bonnies bring back everybody out of the transfer from Pitt. They all average double digits. They should run away with this one. I mean, I think the Bonnies is an Elite 8, maybe even a Final Four team. I think they're great. No one in the A10 should touch them. You could have made a case for St. Louis, and then their best player in Perkins went down. So
right.
And I had them like third in the conference. I don't think anyone should come close to touching the Bonnies this year in the A10.
Like Richmond's the only team, and maybe Richmond gets motivated and gets up for a game against the Bonnies and beats them. I still don't think enough is going to happen in the regular season to still keep St. Bonaventure from having the better record in the conference.
The possibilities of Richmond going on the road and slipping up is much great. It's more great than the Bonnies. Like the Bonnies should have no slip ups unless they're playing at Richmond. Like they should win out at home. They should control their destiny for sure.
Yeah, so that St. Bonaventure regular season A10 is my favorite future on the board in college basketball. You want to run through anything that you're looking at in the futures market? It can be to win it all, Final Four, conference, whatever you want.
Yeah, I don't dive into futures too much. A lot can happen as we go on, but 3 futures I did place 1 unit on all of them. I snagged Gonzaga, Kansas, and Kentucky, just like their ceilings. They, in my opinion, they should all be like Elite 8 teams. Gonzaga more so like a Final Four team. And you snag these early lines, 17-1, 16-1, 9-1. That's when I grabbed them about a month ago. You're going to have really good hedge options come Elite 8 Final Four if they make it. So you can guarantee yourself pretty much good profit because they're probably going to be favorites from the round of 32, Sweet 16, Elite 8 on. So always a good hedge out option. Do I think any of those teams will win? I believe Gonzaga is the true threat out of those 3 to really win it.
Mm-hmm. And on DraftKings Sportsbook, if you want to go this route and save yourself the headache of seeing what the hedging is, you can bet the Final Four market. The Zags are plus 190. Kansas and Kentucky are both plus 450 to go to the Final Four. And just for fun, I'm going to scroll down and see where St. Bonaventure is. St. Bonaventure plus 1,200 to go to the Final Four.
Giant number.
Don't hate it.
Don't hate it. As long as they stay healthy, man, they have a very big ceiling this year.
I am with you there. They're going to steamroll through the A10. All right, we're with Nick Greely at Turnstones Capper on Twitter from Spread Investor. Before we get out of here, I guess, I see you're doing these articles right now on, teams to back, teams to fade early in the season. You want to just give a couple of your favorite teams that you without giving any games specifically that you want to be on or be against in the early going?
Absolutely. So a few bet on teams for me personally. Like we had talked about, St. Bonaventure, love them. Eastern Kentucky, they should be a real bet on team. Last year, I bet on them a lot. I was 4-0 for 8 units on them. I had a great read on them. The market just never really caught up with them. And I was looking at some of their predicted lines this year. It doesn't seem like to me the market really picked up either. I think South Dakota State, like I hit on, bringing all 5 guys back, they're a bet on team, and Richmond as well. Just a lot of veteran guys, continuity. That's the teams you're looking for to bet on early going.
All right, there we go. College basketball is here. Could not be more excited about it. For Julian Edlow, you can follow me on Twitter at Julian Edlow. Nick Greely, follow him on Twitter at Turnstone Capper. Thank you for joining us, man.
Absolutely. Pleasure having me.
All right. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at Unreasonable Odd. That is a podcast, and we will be back on Thursday talking mostly NFL with my co-host Steve Buchanan. We'll have Mitch Moss on from VSiN.